Welcome to the final show from the FIH Odisha Junior Hockey World Cup Bhubaneswar 2021, where we have just watched Argentina win gold after a scintillating match against Germany. 3 goals from Lautaro Domain and 1 from Franco Agostini, when Germany had removed their keeper, gave the South American team a 4-2 win. Earlier in the day, we saw France beat India to win bronze, with Netherlands beating Belgium into 5th place and Spain finishing 7th after they defeated Malaysia. To talk about today's games and the competition as a whole, we have 4 stars of the game. From Germany, we hear the words, wit and wisdom of Janne Muller-Weiland, triple Olympian and one of the world's best defenders. We're also hoping to welcome PR Sreejesh, goalkeeper extraordinaire and bronze medalist from the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. He's just making his way up to us. And our other 2 guests are former teammates representing England and Great Britain. John Wyatt is FIH Director of Sport and Development, and Simon Mason is now one of the best-known commentators in the game. Both men represented Great Britain at the 1996 and 2000 Olympic Games, as well as on many other occasions. So welcome to you all. And before we start the show, I'd just like to ask Simon, you've actually been commentating and playing today. So did the match go as well as the commentary?
I've got to say that the match, we came second. It was a close second. It was better than I predicted at the start of the day. But yeah, we were just slightly outplayed. So my working over 40s in the England Hockey Cup. So I'll admit to put my hand up. I've seen the highlights of the final, but I was actually running around. So the background noise, I apologise for. I'm in the clubhouse with my teammates enjoying a beer over my right shoulder.
And this is why hockey is such an inclusive sport. All ages, everybody joining in. John, hi, how are you? I can see you're there. You're in Bhubaneswar. How are things there?
Yeah, no, very good. Thanks, Sarah, and good evening, everyone. It has been a challenging tournament, but we just completed match number 48 on time, on schedule, and it's been fantastic. And we've had a few challenges, but the tournament's been great. So we're all good, and looking forward to joining Simon in the working clubhouse very soon.
Brilliant. And we'll talk about some of those challenges later, and the fact that on International Volunteers Day, we saw the volunteers at their very best today. But Janne, we need to speak to you. I'm guessing today is bittersweet because Germany have had a great tournament, but it didn't perhaps end as obviously everybody in Germany would have hoped. I wonder if we could just kick off with you. You know, that match, your thoughts on the match and the way it unfolded.
I really feel for the boys. It's I remember my Junior World Cup in too many years ago, and that was just one of the best experiences I think in my whole hockey career. So it's such a big experience and tournament for them, and not going home with the gold medal, which they obviously hope for, is frustrating. I think I thought it was a game of 2 halves. The first half was really quiet on both sides, and I think the only scenes in the D were probably Argentina pulling 2 corners and scoring both of them, but there was no real goalkeeper action in the first half. While in the second half, I thought our boys stepped up a little bit and put like proper pressure on and created some good chances. But then obviously, I mean, Argentina defended well. Their goalkeeper was outstanding, and it's not easy to get it in, especially if they've got counter attacks like they have. And in the end, it's 4-2 because, you know, they don't just try to defend and play the ball away. They actually score then as well. So that makes it harder to have a last second win, as Germany probably could have done if they hadn't conceded the 4-2 a minute to go, really.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, the Domain who scored the hat-trick got player of the match. But I mean, I think the Argentinian goalkeeper, we'll talk to Simon about this in a little while, but I thought he had an outstanding game. I see Sreejesh, you've joined us. Hi, Sreejesh, just to say hello to you.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Great to see you. We'll be coming back to you in a minute, but to find out your thoughts on the day's games. But I just wonder if we could talk to John now a little bit. John, in many ways, certainly the pundits on this panel didn't necessarily predict an Argentina win today, and in fact they finished second in their pool to Germany. And they hadn't always throughout the competition looked convincing. But what did you think of the way that the team grew into the competition?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing it. They started relatively slowly. They didn't have a brilliant set of matches in the pool, but they kind of got through and qualified. But both against the French in the semi-final and then today, they were tactically fantastic and defended brilliantly, which, you know, you wouldn't necessarily think of Argentina as a great defensive team. Maybe think of their forwards and their attack, but their defense was amazing. And you know, they completely squeezed the French in the semi-final, who didn't have an answer. And then today did a very similar thing. They were incredibly disciplined, tactically fantastic, got it absolutely spot on. And as Janne said, scored, I think it was 3 out of 3 corners, or maybe 3 out of 4, but they took their chances. Their goalkeeper today was just ridiculous. He had one of those days that both Sreejesh and Simon have had many of, where just everything hits you, and he made brilliant saves, but he also, everything hit him as well. And the German team just had a slightly off day. They were 5% off for the first half, as Janne said, and which is very uncharacteristic of Germany. You usually expect them to be faultless in a final, but they made a few mistakes. But they have that ridiculous belief that even though they were 2-0 down, they still came back, and it kind of still felt like they were going to come back. And at 2-2, everyone in the stadium and everyone here thought, well, Germany will go on to win the game. They just had that feeling to it. And then, in fair play to Argentina, having not got out of their 23-meter line for the entire third quarter, they managed to put an attack together, won a corner, scored a goal, and managed to win it. So, at the end of the day, I think they were probably well-deserved winners today. But I did feel for Germany. Germany really, really missed their captain. He was a superstar during the pools. He was their leader. He's a man mountain, and he unfortunately hasn't played, for the last game and a half. And today they really missed him. They missed him at corners, and they missed him as a leader. So I really, I feel for them. And you always feel for the team who don't win the final, but I think Argentina deserved it today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know Valentin Altenberg, obviously, Janne, very well. What will he be saying to the team now to try and sort of lift them after this loss?
I mean, he's a really empathetic coach, so I'm sure he'll find the right words for whatever the mood is, or what's going to get them, keep their heads up. In the end, it's obviously the biggest thing right now for them, but they all got amazing careers ahead of them, and there's so much potential in the team. And I think all of us were really looking forward to seeing them develop over the next few years. And I know it's hard for them to see it in this particular moment, but they did so well, and reaching the final and getting so close in the final is a great achievement. But so it would be something definitely very kind, and giving them a lot of love for what they've and praise for what they've achieved. But I also know from a player's point of view, you can't take any of that in that moment, but in a few days or weeks, they will probably look back and be a bit proud as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to have a quick video clip now, just showing a moment of Argentinian brilliance. Now, this isn't from today's game. I'm not that technically brilliant, but we have got an Argentinian goal from earlier on in one of the pool matches. So, Harry, if you could play that for us, please.
Gets it back again. Now Ruiz takes it on inside the circle, plays it across. Is there to be an end product? Oh, you bet there is! That is outrageous! And Argentina are back in front. Ignacio Nodolio has absolutely no right to squeeze it in from there. That is an incredible goal.
So yeah, as John quite rightly said, Argentina renowned for some of their attacking and creativity. But today we did see Nahir and Hernando absolutely fantastic in the Argentinian goal. And I just really want to ask both Sreejesh and Simon, as two goalkeepers, what are your thoughts on the standards of goalkeeping at this tournament? And we'll come to Sreejesh first on that. I mean, there's been some quite amazing goalkeeping going on, hasn't there? Even though there's been an awful lot of goals scored as well.
Yes, definitely, sir. I think this Junior World Cup showcased a lot of talent in the goalkeeping area. Definitely, when you looking towards this, bottom teams. The goalkeepers really showed a wonderful performance. It's Egypt's goalkeeper. I think he showed in some matches he made almost 20 to 25 saves. That is miracle. And if you take our side, Indian goalkeepers, they done a wonderful job in the quarterfinals against Belgium, where I feel like defending 1-0 against Belgium is like one of the toughest part. When today's hero, definitely Argentinian goalkeeper, look at him from the semi-finals and the final showcase. He got more confidence, I think, after that shootout, because from there goalkeepers grow a lot. And definitely when you are having some sort of the scoreline pressure on the opposition, goalkeeper gained some more confidence because Argentina got the first goal that gives goalkeepers more confidence to be on their toes and just save the balls, because even one mistakes they can say that, okay, I do have capability to save the team in the shootout. But so far this tournament was fantastic, and especially even the shootout of Holland, that was really good. The goalkeeper saved 3 straight savings. So I think the goalkeepers are showcased their maturity, and I think they earned a place in the senior squad really very soon.
Are you looking over your shoulder, seeing who's coming up behind you?
See, good combinations are always good for improving yourself. So that is what I'm looking forward. So I got 2 youngsters with me, those who are almost 5 to 6 years younger to me. Now I got another 2 more goalkeepers, which those are going to be like 10 or 12 years younger. But yeah, that gives me more power to work really hard.
Keeps you going. Simon, I just want to ask you, because I mean, the player of the match invariably went to people who scored goals throughout the entire competition. But you were watching and you were commentating on these games. Does it sometimes break your heart that the goalkeepers don't get recognised a little bit more? I think Simon's heart is so broken.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Sorry, it's really noisy here, so hopefully you can. It doesn't. I mean, it's one of those things that as a goalkeeper you accept is you're going to simply do your best and create a platform that your team can build from it. And usually in competitions there is an award or an accolade at the end of the tournament for best goalkeeper, or at least there's a conversation about it. And so it is just one of those things and you accept it. But what I think, reflecting on what Sreejesh has said, is I think what impresses me, it's the goalkeepers' agility now. It's that second and third phase saves, their ability to get round their circle. And that's what's changed in the last 5 or 6 years, is that no longer are we just standing there. I say we, it's a long time ago since I was any part of this, but it's no longer just standing there and being big and letting the balls hit you. It's then the fact those balls are falling, and the players are so athletic that the goalkeepers have to match that now. That the forwards and the midfielders are so physical, they get around the circle, they pick up the loose balls, and therefore it's no longer good enough to just save that first ball. You have to be strong and you have to be fabulous core strength to get yourself around the goal. I mean, Sreejesh is a master at getting around his goal mouth and saving a huge number of balls first, second and third phase, sometimes just literally making it up. No disrespect, but I don't know how you save some of the things you do, mate. And that's what we've seen in this tournament. I think we talk about the Egyptian goalkeeper, how he made some saves is all about getting in the right place, but you've got to be incredibly athletic to get there. And that's what I feel we've seen as the development of goalkeepers, not just in this tournament, it's the athleticism of those individuals.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Thanks. Janne, there was a point you brought up briefly when we first started talking about the sort of the importance of this tournament for those young players to use it as a springboard for a senior international career. Obviously, with Paris 2024 only 3 and a bit years away now, for those players, for the Argentinians, for the Germans, for the Indians, for all those players in those top teams, how important is this event introducing those players into the sort of the highest standards of play that they're going to encounter as they move forwards?
Well, it's incredibly important, because until the Junior World Cup, you only play your continental teams, right? So you know Holland and Belgium really well, but you've never played against India, Argentina. And I mean, the boys now, our German boys played twice against Argentina, which is, amazing, because you're not exposed to these nations. And so it's basically the first time they actually play on world stage. And if you want to play in the senior team, and never mind the Olympics, obviously you have to get used to that, because it's different. Sometimes it's completely different hockey. It's different pressure. It's different, exposure also in the media as well, I think. So it's a great experience. And I'm sure because they've lost now, they'll be even more eager to do better and keep developing and, have another chance. And for some of them, that will be in the senior team because they move out of the age group. And for some, will be in the senior team because they're so good, they will be pulled up into the senior squad. I know that I'm sure that I know of the Germans, but I'm sure that all teams have had some players already in the wider squad before the Olympics or in the last years, so they've been exposed to senior team hockey. And again, I think the hunger will be even bigger. And I mean, it's only in 3 years, and those will fly by as well. So yeah, I'm actually always curious to see which of the Junior World Cup players, male or female, you will see at the next Olympics. And I don't think anyone has to worry. There's enough coming up.
Yeah, there's certainly some talent coming through. I mean, Sreejesh, it's true, I think, that India obviously won the Junior World Cup in 2016. And I think 8 of those players then joined the 2020 or 2021 Olympic squad. So how important do you think that victory was in terms of almost teaching the players how to be successful?
The best part for them is like shifting that Junior World Cup, Olympics game. So one more year. So that's got them one more extra year to perform and showcase what they got. And I think Junior World Cups are the platform for them to introduce into the bad part of hockey. It is like pressure, because when you're playing in the junior levels, it's always like fun. You play Six Nations, you play Dead Nations, but you never get that real pressure. But when it comes to Junior World Cup, big event, you need to win. You need the expectations will be there. The players are going to, each mistakes can cost you a match. So for us, the young bloods helped us a lot to win this, bronze medal in Tokyo, because that the climate is totally different. It was totally different there. It was a lot of humid. We played a lot of matches in the afternoon, and morning sessions were like, still it was cold, but still humid. So if you want to drag 7 matches in that short span of time, you need to have some fresh legs with a lot of experience. And I think our young buds had that experience in 2016, where they played in front of our own crowd, where they faced almost 10 to 20,000 people in the semis and finals. So that's helped them to build that base. And a couple of them already experienced playing in the Hockey India League, where they played with a lot of international talent, a lot of world-class players. So they got that experience and they used it, and we got the benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sarah?
Yes, sure.
No, sorry, just to say, just a couple of points on that. I think in terms of the sort of the future and looking forwards, and for the French team, 3 years' time, right, they're hosting Olympic Games, and we've seen some really, really impressive French players here. Not just the captain, who clearly got player of the tournament and scored all those goals, but there are a number of those players that I'm sure we'll see in Paris in 3 years' time, which is fantastic. And then just to pick up on Jana's other point around the Junior World Cup, is the first time that all of us had the opportunity to play against teams outside of our continent. And for that reason, as I think we all know, we're moving to every 2 years for a Junior World Cup. So there will actually be another one in 2023. So for quite a few of the athletes here who are 18, 19, and there are many in each squad, they'll get another chance in 2 years' time. And so they'll get even more experience before they move into the senior team. And that's part of the reason for that decision. But I think that'll be a really positive thing for their development.
Yeah, it really teaches them resilience, doesn't it? It's almost as though you were looking at my questions, because I was about to ask you, France, it's obviously looking good for them for Paris for 2024. But and you've spoken about the Junior World Cup in 2023, which will obviously give them some momentum. But how does that team keep the momentum that they've got now, bearing in mind that they're not a pro league team? Is it a case of them maybe inviting the pro league teams to play them in warm-ups and things like that? How do they build on what they've achieved so amazingly this time around?
Yeah, next year they'll have Nations Cup, so the new tournament for the teams just under the Pro League, and then they'll be building up to they'll have a European competition next year as well, and then they'll have the European Championships in 23, and then they'll be into test events. Once the turf is laid in Paris, I'm sure all the teams will want to go and train there, so they'll have test matches against those teams, and but I think look at how the last senior French men's team did 3 years ago in the last World Cup, and they put in some really good performances there. They've clearly got some good younger guys coming up through. So and then look at how the women, the French women, have just done recently in the Europeans as well. So they're clearly getting some momentum there. They're building. They're getting some funding, as always happens when you host an Olympic Games across all your sports. So it's great for us. It's great for hockey. We always want to have a good competitive home nation, like we saw in Tokyo, where Japan maybe didn't get the results, but they had some really, really good performances and some really good matches, and that makes sure you get local interest, you get media interest, you get fans in the stadium, and that's going to be really important in Paris. So we feel really, really, really positive actually about the French setup over the next 3 years.
They were an exciting team to watch, certainly. Sreejesh, I hardly dare mention it, but France outplayed India twice. In the pools, they won 5-4, and then obviously today. What were your thoughts on that match? What should India have learnt from the opening match to have come closer to France in that game?
See, I think somewhere maybe we might thought of that. Okay, it's going to be an easy work because when you think about the past performance, yes, India did have some kind of upper hands, but this is what we should learn from these kind of tournaments. You can't underestimate or you can't take any team lightly. So and definitely the way they, you remember our first talk. I said this in France and Malaysia might be the two black horses when they can jump in. See, individual performance. We should mention that a couple of players took the initiative. They just pulled the team into that level. And for us, that the same thing happens. We started really slowly, and France took goals, got the rhythm, and they just carry on with their moment. And whenever they got the chance, they started to score. We chased them. The first match 5-4, but it was tough. But I thought that we could have learned a lot of things from there, because if you find a good talented player in the opposition team, you just need to block him. That is the main things what we used to do it from long back. But unfortunately we couldn't do that. And second thing is like a penalty corner conversions, because that's made a lot of difference in this tournament, because there were a lot of good goalkeepers and great flickers. So if you convert, take this finals. Argentina scored 3 penalty corners, so that was a vital part where I think we lagged there, because their defense, France defense, was really fantastic, and we couldn't convert any indirect. We couldn't choose any indirect variation during that match, so that's also was a lag thing. But still, I feel like yes, there are a lot of French lessons for us. I think one thing is that you don't underestimate anything. Whenever you get a chance, just go and score the balls, and third, just save your goal post. That is most important.
There's a goalkeeper speaking. Just go and score the goals. That's what you've got to do. Brilliant. Thank you. Simon, earlier in the day, we saw Netherlands beat Belgium. I thought it was interesting. I thought Netherlands looked the more composed of the two teams. What were your thoughts on that match?
To be honest, Sarah, I thought that the Belgium played very badly in the first half. The Netherlands played well, and they took the opportunities that were presented. Miles Buchens obviously has top scored in this competition with an insane amount of goals, both open play and penalty corners. But Belgium really didn't find their rhythm. Jeroen Baert spoke at half time about how he felt when he was asked what needs to change. He pretty much said everything. Basically, he's going back in the change room and asking them to just actually play properly. They were hesitant. They weren't dynamic off the ball particularly, and in doing so, it gave the Netherlands a huge amount of space and time to pick their passes, to regroup a little bit. And those 2 goals that they scored really quickly got them back within touching distance. And I thought at that point, you never know, maybe they can get on top of it, get to that equal position, that parity. But the Dutch had such belief that they then stepped forwards. They created the opportunity. Fabulous goal from I can't remember what it was now. The 5th goal. Janssen. It was Janssen who got the 5th goal, who scored a really good finish. And rightly so, got player of the match. He really drove them forwards in the second half. And it would have been easy for the Netherlands to get a bit shaky and fall away. And they just showed their class. So I don't think it was the fact they played brilliantly in the first half. I just don't think Belgium played particularly well.
Allowed them to escape, and then they couldn't catch up. John, the whole day was made difficult by the conditions. And on International Volunteers Day, we really need to mention just what the volunteers were up to out there, and how we got the play underway in the end.
Yeah, so that's right. So we arrived this morning at about 7:30 this morning here at the stadium to about 5 centimeters of water across the whole pitch. It had been raining all night. The cyclone had come through, and honestly, we weren't very hopeful of playing any matches at all. But when the rain finally did stop, and the pitches are amazing, they just drain so quickly nowadays. So it started to go, and then this army of about 25 volunteers turned up with. I don't know how to describe them, but we would call them squeegees. So a sort of, a mop on a pole that just pushes water, and they were just running across the pitch, creating these kind of tidal waves of water and getting off the pitch. And 15 minutes after it stopped raining, suddenly you could play hockey on the pitch. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I think I've only ever seen it here and in Malaysia, where you get these real tropical storms. So we started the first match. I think it was 45 minutes late, and just about managed to get that done. Although that was one of those matches that you had to lift the ball every time you wanted to push it anywhere, because if you tried to push it on the ground, it didn't go anywhere. Which the Malaysians actually knew how to do, because they, I think, experienced that quite a lot at home, so they adapted pretty quickly. Then we managed to get that match done. Then we had another rainstorm came through, so the second match got delayed, and we thought that was the pattern for the day. But then around lunchtime, as all of the locals here have been telling us, it'll stop, and suddenly it stopped. And then the two matches, the bronze medal match and the gold medal match, happened bang on time. The pitch was perfect, and absolutely no issues at all. So yeah, you can probably see there's still some volunteers over my shoulder, still celebrating or soon to be dismantling the podium and taking everything away. But yeah, we've had, as always here, a brilliant set of volunteers, hundreds of them, always greet you with a smile in the morning, no matter what the weather is, and seem to be here before we arrive, and are certainly here before after we've left as well. So yeah, like all sports, but certainly hockey couldn't survive without our volunteers. So a massive thank you to them on, as you say, on International Volunteers Day.
Brilliant. It's just before we wrap the programme up and get your thoughts on sort of moments of the match and things like that, it's worth just reiterating a point that we made in an earlier show. Obviously, there were teams who didn't win very much. There were teams who perhaps only won one game. But the benefits of playing in this sort of tournament is immense. And I wonder if I'd just come to Jana first to ask you the benefits for players who come from places like South Africa and Canada, USA, Chile, for example. They are actually plying their trade and showcasing themselves to European clubs, Australian clubs as well, aren't they? It's not just about getting themselves into the national team, but it's about showcasing themselves for potential employers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone's been watching it with one eye to, scout the next player for their club. And I'm sure I know from my sponsor Griffin that they also watch it, and to see, who's the next talent, who do we want to support. But again, I think while you're in the World Cup, that your main goal is to do well with your team. But it's a great opportunity for them to just be seen, because usually you don't get exposed, as I said, exposed at that level, and you don't have the media attention. And now it's actually for any of those nations. It's just a great opportunity to play on the world stage and make the best of it. And again, those nations you mentioned, they don't have a lot of neighboring countries you can just play some test matches against. I mean, we're very, very spoiled in Europe, because you just fly an hour and you've got so many good teams around you. But Chile, okay, they could go to Argentina, but like South Africa, you always have to travel far, and that costs a lot of money, and you probably can't afford it really. So it's a unique event for everyone.
So yeah, and actually what you're getting is, you're not just getting the chance to perform on an international stage at the highest level, but you're learning those vital skills as players of resilience and how to adapt to conditions. You watch, for example, today with the millimeters of water on the pitch. People in South Africa won't necessarily experience that, but here they are playing in very different circumstances. So there's an awful lot of additional benefits, aren't there, to taking part in something as prestigious as this.
Yeah, you definitely have to get used to that, because in the senior team you play in all sorts of different places in the world, and especially like if you come from a winter time, like Germany is in the winter time, you go to India and you be hit by the temperatures, the humidity, rain and all of that. So I think again it's a great learning experience for everyone, because that's in the end what the real hockey on the senior level is like, and that 365 days a year really. So yeah,
brilliant. John,
Sorry. Even the teams who lost heavily and maybe came in only 1 or 2 months' notice and had young teams and hadn't been together and done that much training, speaking to them here and speaking to their coaches, they're just saying this is an amazing experience. Come to India to play in a stadium like this. Some of the kids in the USA, I mean, this is just beyond anything they could ever have imagined. And the Polish team who came at literally about 6 weeks' notice, did really well and played really well and performed really well, and so they've all learned a huge amount. And as one of the coaches said to me, we've learned a lot more here by losing by a lot of goals than we would have done sat at home.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, in every player, you rather play and learn by playing instead of training, because you can't reciprocate it at home. You can't, fake the pressure or, pretend, even if you say like, oh, you pretend to be this team, it's not the same. It's the best you can do is just play.
Yeah, and of course, every single one of those players has now played in a Junior World Cup, and that's something that's amazing. Simon, did you have anything to add to that?
Just that you can look at the big picture, sort of the holistics of the whole thing, but actually within it, it's all the tiny moments, and individuals will learn some really key lessons. I felt the French didn't play particularly well, in their semi-final. They played within themselves. They've been really free-flowing, and then suddenly you experience a pressure that you've never experienced before. And then the Netherlands turn over a goal in the last 45 seconds. There's players who've been in this tournament who will now understand the difference that 15 seconds of concentration makes, or one touch. And you can focus on, I'm going to be an Olympic athlete. I'm going to be a world-class player. First and foremost, I think, to go back to your thing about showcasing your talent, any player who came into this tournament or goes into a senior tournament with the view of, I'm going to show myself as the best player in the world, will undoubtedly have the worst tournament that they've ever had. And we all know that. We've probably all been in squads with players who have sort of a personal agenda rather than a team agenda. And to my experience, it very rarely works. But some players will have come into this and they'll have seen a skill set from an opponent, or they'll understand what the difference the first meter of running makes. And it's those tiny differences, the 1%, the 0.5%, that will fundamentally change some of these athletes and turn them into real world-class, true world-class performers in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, really, really good point. Thank you. Okay, we're going to wrap up. We're going to let everybody go and enjoy the end of this tournament. But I just wondered if I could ask you all to just describe your moment of the tournament and also your player of the tournament. So we'll do moments of the tournament first. And if I come to John first on that, please.
So I'm going to go for, rather than the moment of the tournament, I'm going to go for a minute of the tournament. And it was the final minute of the Spain-Germany quarterfinal, when it had been a brilliant game. The Germans had done incredibly well, given that they'd lost their captain a quarter of the time through. Really close game. Spain played really well. Spain scored an unbelievable goal with about 90 seconds to go. And you're thinking, wow, what a goal to win a quarterfinal. That's incredible. And then Germany go down the other end and do what only Germany can do, which is they score another goal in the last 20 seconds, as they always do in every tournament. And then they go and win the shootout. And it was just, it was a fantastic last 90 seconds of a match. I felt desperately sorry for the Spanish. I would have felt desperately sorry for the Germans if they hadn't won as well. But yeah, it was brilliant. Everyone was brilliant.
So just as John has been stealing my thunder by reading my questions, Jana, I'm guessing he's probably stolen your moment of the tournament as well.
No, he has, but I'm glad he did, because he explained it much better than I would have done. So yeah, that's I think for me more the last 30 seconds, not the 90 seconds, but yeah, and especially as Spain saved the first corner, right? It was another retake. So yeah, I mean, again, that's such a moment for those players to experience that pressure and experience we can do well under pressure, and also we can go into shootouts afterwards and win that as well. Is again amazing opportunity for them as well to just have in the bank.
Brilliant. Sreejesh, what's been your moment of the tournament?
I should say that, okay, we won against Belgium. That might be my best moment. But being a goalkeeper, I mean, prospective view, I should say that the goal what the Holland goalkeeper conceded, that's a self-goal, but still that is a die-hard moment, because he was doing pretty good throughout. And still, last moment, he conceded that goal and they're out from the semi. So that is one of the, I mean, moment I feel like really bad for Holland, seriously.
Yeah, well, thanks for showing that empathy there. I've just realised that I've missed the chance to show a clip of that German comeback against Spain. So we'll just rewind slightly. Harry, can you just play that clip for us, please?
Nazi fans, never write them off. What a finish to this game. And finally, when it matters, he has just rifled this right underneath Calzado. Oh, despair and heartbreak for Spain.
That was just to cheer Jana up today. Show that again. Simon, your moment of the tournament.
Well, having not seen that clip in depth, I think my moment of the tournament is the fashion statement from Valentin Altenberg just then, with his headphones and his sunglasses on, completely emotionless as they score that goal. But actually, I think I have a little bit of knowledge of the South African programme, having done some work out there for a year, and I think their clash against Pakistan and the shootout victory that they had there, to see that degree of belief from a relatively inexperienced group of players, from a nation that's completely self-funded, the fundraising that they've done, and then how that belief saw them grow into the next game and how well they finished this tournament. And it's just those moments when players who we talked about, they play in their continental environments. Some of those players have never played on the national stage, but even their domestic environment is relatively limited in terms of competition. So to see them go up against one of the cultural, historical teams that is seen on the world stage as being the heart of hockey, to have that belief, I just thought that was exceptional in terms of their maturity, and to see them grow from that point. I just thought a passage of play in that game was just absolutely brilliant. So that South Africa against Pakistan game,
Do you think that's
it was just fabulous.
So I was going to say, do you think that's filtered down, Simon, from the Tokyo Olympics, where the South African men did a very similar thing?
You could argue that it does, but that's kind of this emotional feed down. Really, I think it's been during the tournament. I think it'd be difficult to say you can attribute it to the athletes who are in Tokyo. I don't think they've had a huge impact. You're talking about whether the role model performances from Tokyo filter down, and I'm not convinced there's enough profile for the senior South African men athletes in that team to work through the 21s. So I think more it's about what they've experienced here in Bhubaneswar, and how they've just started to get confidence and belief in each other. You saw that in the latter stages when they really knew where the running was. They knew if they committed to the physical elements of the game, they committed to each other, they could really get some results, and the outcomes then showed, and they finished so strongly with real belief. And I was delighted to see that across that team.
Yeah, I think it was their highest ever finish as well, which was fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, finally then, who's starred? Who's risen to the top and been a star of the tournament? John, we'll come to you first.
Thank you. So, obviously, the French captain Timothée Clément he was the driving force as well as the goal scorer for the French. I totally agree with Si, by the way. I think that the French in the semi-final froze, but I think that could help them align their development the next time they play in a big tournament, which may well be in Paris for some of those guys. But yeah, he was awesome. Apologies already ahead to Jana for my pronunciation, but the captain of Germany who got injured, Ben, I'm going to go with Schwarzhaupt. Yeah, so good.
Pretty good, yeah.
So he was awesome, and I think genuinely it would have been a different result if he'd have played the semi-final today. And then there was a Spanish forward, and my Spanish is awful, but Edouard, I think it's Dignacio Thimo, not sure. The guy who scored the goal with 90 seconds to go against the Germans, he was outstanding all tournament. Every time he got the ball, he made something happen. So I think he'll be definitely a forward of the future.
Brilliant, thank you. Jana, has he stolen your players as well as your moment?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm very biased because I mostly watch the German games, so I'm sure there were so many great players out there. But from our side, I thought Bene Schwarzhaupt and Hannes Müller, the two co-captains, were actually really good. And now that Bene couldn't play today, Hannes really tried to keep the engine going. And he was, if you look at all the goals, he's always involved in somehow. He's not the one scoring, but he's the one setting it up. And I thought, especially today when they didn't really get momentum, Michael Struthoff was really outstanding in terms of the speed he has, the skills he has. He could have been an Argentinian player the way he was on the ball, actually. And you could, especially today, you could tell like there will be something happening if he's on it. And yeah, that was nice to see, actually, because I used to play with his mum. I was the youngest. I think that was my first year as a youth player. I was allowed to play women's, and I think that was her last year before she must have been pregnant with him or something, which makes me awfully old. But it's funny to now see him, on world stage and doing so well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see him develop over the next few years and see where he can get to.
He reminds me of Christoph Ruhr.
Yeah, and that speed and ball control.
That same sparkle that just does something.
Yeah, one to watch for the future, definitely. Sreejesh, who's caught your eye over the nearly 2 weeks?
Definitely, I just go with John, the captain of French team. He was fantastic, but I wanted to pick up one more guy. That's Argentinian goalkeeper, where the team required a save when he standed tall and he saved the team. And now they're standing in the podium because he made a really fantastic role, and so he's going to be my pick.
He's your pick. Brilliant, thank you, Simon.
It's impossible to ignore Timothée Clément. I mean, it started with that first game with his hat-trick, and it just set them on the road, didn't it? I mean, you've got to love an upright reverse volley to start with. You're going to start yourself on a route forwards in a tournament like this. I just thought he was brilliant in terms of influencing the people around him. But I'm going to firmly play my goalkeepers union card. I'm afraid. And I'm going to go with the Egyptian goalkeeper, Salim, who was just genuinely... I ran out of words. I commentated on him against Pakistan. Pakistan did score 3 corners. Rizwan was incredible, but he literally built, well, Sreejesh is called the Wall of India, and he's disappeared as I said it, which is brilliant, but he's called the Wall of India. Salim for Egypt, without him, I know they got hammered at times, but genuinely to see a young goalkeeper with relatively little international experience be so positive and so dynamic, and he was making the sort of saves that John at the beginning talked about, Hernandez and stuff, hitting the goalkeeper. He made some saves that he was not justified to take, and yet he continued to be positive. His shoulders didn't drop. He continued to dominate his defensive spaces, and I am going to absolutely play my goalkeeper union card and put him firmly in the frame for my favourite player of the tournament.
Simon, that is brilliant, because I tried to predict who you guys might say, and we do have a clip of Mahmoud Salim of Egypt in action against Germany.
It's so predictable.
Harry, play that clip.
This is constant at the moment. Duksher, good save. There's the trap. Schwarzhout again. Oh, brilliant. Here was his flick. That's sensational goalkeeping.
I think that's fair to say that didn't just hit him. He did actually jump for that.
Unnecessary dive. He could have just stepped to his right and deflected over the crossbar, but it's just showboating.
It was there.
just right hand.
Sreejesh, just wrap it up for us. Tell us what it means from a Hockey India point of view, what hosting this tournament has meant, particularly at the end of 2 years where we've had such a limited amount of hockey being played.
See, for us, conducting hockey is like, it's inviting more young generation into hockey, especially in Bhubaneswar. You know that the people are really passionate about hockey, and as Sarah, you witnessed before itself, a lot of tournaments we used to bring a lot of young kids to watch the game. They get inspired. All the school kids comes. They wanted to play. They wanted to get signed from all these top players. So I think this is all the baby steps where we can influence kids by showcasing them the best world-class hockey. So I think for us, it was a challenge because a lot of COVID protocols, a lot of things. But after playing the Olympics, I think every country get that courage to conduct any big events. And now, unfortunately, we couldn't, get more crowd inside, but still from the quarterfinal itself, we managed to get a decent amount of crowd to witness the game. But so far, I think we done a justice to this tournament. We managed to conduct it in a very well manner. The production way, it was good. The protocol ways, it was perfect. Every place was safe. And I think even the volunteers and all the staff done their duty in a proper way. So as an Indian, I'm really proud we conducted this Junior World Cup in a perfect way.
Brilliant, thank you. John, good event, despite the weather?
A fantastic event, despite the weather, despite the pandemic, despite all the travel challenges, despite the quarantine rules changing in every country since we've been here to go home and everyone having to do different things. But yeah, a brilliant tournament. A massive thanks to the hosts and to all the teams for making a huge effort to get here. There's been some pretty mammoth journeys taken by many teams and many officials, but no, an awesome tournament and brilliant to have a World Cup. As you say, having had a couple of years of pretty limited amount of hockey, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope we can have another World Cup indoors this time in about 2 months' time.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, that's it, guys. My thanks to you all for your time, your insight, your wisdom, and also my thanks to everybody who's listening to this. Once more, congratulations to the 2021 Junior World Cup champions, Argentina. Well done to all the athletes, coaches, umpires, officials, volunteers who made this competition the success it's been. And thanks to you guys for being here with me. So thank you.